Welcome back to Bless Your Heart. I'm talking. This is Zeta, your host. We got new stories, new things to talk about, and I'm going to start today. No catching up, actually. I got something to talk about. I've really been thinking about this because of everything going on with all the crazy things in the news right now and on social media, and it just feels like it's just a lot, and it just feels very heavy. So I've been, thinking about it, and I want to take a minute to talk about protecting your mental health on social media. And we talk. I have occasionally discussed this, but I want to go a little bit more into it because listen, if someone's post makes you feel like garbage, even if it's like your Aunt Susan and on her like keto cult updates, you can mute, unfollow, or block. That's not drama. That's you protecting yourself. That is self-care. And with all the drama going on with the different political views and all the just creating a drama and all this kind of stuff, it's really easy to get upset. There's a lot of rage bait out there. There's a lot of crazy things out there. But on top of all the crazy rage bait and other crazy shit, on top of all that, there's all these crazy disasters and horrible things happening to children. And it's a lot. It is a lot. And I just think it's a lot for us to take in. I don't think we're meant to know that much sometimes. I think, we want to know things that are important, but we don't need 5,000 of the same story told a different way. I'm just basically here to say, remember that social media is a highlight reel. Okay. A lot of times we're seeing all this doomsday stuff on the news part and people are getting upset, but then we have another end of the spectrum. And the other end of the spectrum are the people that are posting about their life. And, there's people like me. I post quite a bit, but and some people post not at all, and some people overpost, and whatever the case is. But when I'm posting, I'm careful how I come off, and I don't know that everybody is. And I know even what I do is too much for some people. And I think we need to remember that social media is a highlight reel. And what I mean by that is nobody's posting their Target meltdown, like parking lot meltdown, except me. I mean, I'm a little too honest. And you're welcome for that because it gives you it. No, I'm kidding. But most people are only giving you the great parts. They're showing you vacations and they're showing you cool shit that they get to do. I mean, I do it because it's cool shit and I enjoy it. And I think you'll enjoy looking at it, And I think that, a lot of people on my social media are people I share those moments with, and we like to share photos, and that's one way we do it. And also so that in 10 years from now, if I'm still on Facebook, I can go back and I got all these great pictures and memories and time dates and that kind of stuff. But the reality of the situation is that it is legit highlight reels. There's not many of us putting real life out there. And some people are going the opposite direction where everything is doom and gloom. And I'm not talking about that because that's a whole nother issue. That's a mental health issue or something. I'm talking about Susie Q that's on vacation in England. And then she's having a party and 5,000 people show up and, all these great things. And she's doing all these cool things. And she is, she got a brand new car. And her son, just went to camp and it was, he won first place and, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is of the situation is we all have those moments. But we also have other moments, including Susie Q, that you're looking at and you're thinking, man, she's got her shit together. And man, I wish I had her life. You do not know this other person's life. There is nobody giving you everything you want to know about them on social media. And I mean, even people that are in the public, you're never going to know what's going on. There's only so much you can tell. And I've said it a million times that, if people feel like they know me and you do know my personality, like I am very really just like this. This is me. But there's more to me than what I'm talking about. Even if I'm making fun of myself, I also fuck up and I make mistakes and I learn and I live and I grow. Sometimes I stumble and we all do, but social media doesn't reflect that very well. And I think it's important to remember that. And, we get ourselves so caught up in keeping up with the Joneses that we fuck ourselves financially and mentally. And I do not want to spend 20 years wishing I was living someone else's life. And I think that you can be happy almost anywhere in life. Now, yeah, there's some shitty things that happen to people, and there's some shit that happens to you that you can't be happy. If you are sick every day of your life, your whole life, it's real fucking hard to be like, oh, everything's wonderful. And I know some people can do that, but that's honestly, it's okay to be mad about that. But most people are healthy. Most people are, have some good going on, but it's real easy to focus on the bad when social media is in your face, showing how great it is for everybody else. And I really want everyone to know that is just not reality. Like when I post about menopause, and if you follow me, you see like all the comments and the interaction. It's my number one interacted thing. And that is because we are all going through it. We are all going through it. But whenever you don't really see women posting about it normally, so until you read those interactions, you don't realize how many women are going through it. And the same women, all different kinds of women, the same kind of women, like it's every color, every woman has to go through some point of that if they make it to that age. And I just think that's one connection to use as an example. I mean, there's many ways. People aren't going on there usually and they're like, my husband never does the dishes. Like, never. I have to do every dish. I have to do all the laundry. You don't really hear people saying that, even though in reality that's probably happening. And, or if someone's spouse is cheating and they know and they're trying to work through it and they're in therapy, or, they're having money problems and so-and-so lost their job and they don't want anyone to know they lost their job. Like there's just a lot more you just don't know. And it's one thing to look at it and judge them and think negative of people. It's another thing to take it upon yourself to judge yourself and look down on yourself. And I don't think either one of those is healthy. I think that social media should be looked at as, this is what they want me to think of them. It doesn't mean it's everything about them. And I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about them based on what they want me to think of them on social media, because most people don't want to put the crazy part out in the world. And I hate that my kids were all raised in a time where social media was a thing that they had access to, because the world puts a lot of pressure on people. And, if I'm a good example, because there are just some people that just don't like me, and I really put myself out there. And so when you really put yourself out there and people don't like you, they really don't like you. Right? Like I put myself out more than most. So when they say they don't like me, that's fair. I put enough out, you could probably figure out you don't like me. Like, it's not based on a small thing. But the average person, no, that you don't know enough about most people to determine that you don't care for them. But when you do, like when I got that review, or I've had other times in life where people have told me, someone was speaking ill of me, or they didn't care for me or whatever, I can take it personal, and I could really like look down on myself, or I could assess it and decide maybe I really need to fix something about myself that was a problem for them, because that could be honestly true. We all have things we could work on. Or I can assess it and determine that I like myself just fine how I am, and I'm sorry it makes them uncomfortable, but that's really on them. It can go different ways. And but the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to listen to what they're saying about me and just accept they're right and they're telling the truth and that they know what they're talking about, and I need to look down on myself or be hard on myself. I'm going to assess it. The other or I'm just going to ignore it. If I'm not reading it was good. But the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to not pass that on to somebody else. I'm not going to do the same thing to somebody else. I try really hard not to go online and be like, this bitch is crazy. And this is, but it is easy. And I think everyone's braver behind a keyboard. So it's just a lot easier to like mouth off and, whatever. And most people wouldn't really talk that way. And I think like if you find yourself like arguing with a stranger in the comments section about something you really don't care about, that's your time, your sign. Close the app and go drink some water or wine. I don't judge, but like remove yourself. I'm guilty of it. I like to fuck with people. I'm not going to lie. I will troll someone. I don't always even believe what I'm saying sometimes. Sometimes I just see that it's a hot button for them and I think it's funny because they're acting stupid. Regardless, it's not really healthy for anybody. I should probably not do that. This is where you admit you're wrong and realize sometimes you got to put yourself in check. I'm mouthy, y'all. You know. The other thing is you're not required to explain or defend or debate every thought online. It just doesn't really matter. Your mental peace is worth more than getting a like or proving a point to some stranger that could be a bot, you know. Protect your brain like it is your last Chick-fil-A nugget. Like, don't just give that shit to every troll with a good Wi-Fi connection. Like, you just hang on to that little nugget. That is your nugget. Don't be throwing that out there. Protect your peace online and in life is what I'm saying. It's okay to take a break from social media. Nothing wrong with that. You don't even have to announce it if you want to take a break, and before you start like doomsday scrolling, you need to ask yourself, do I really need to know what 847 strangers think about the weather, politics, or like Beyonce today? You probably don't need to know that. It's probably not that important. And there's other things that you could do, is what I'm saying. And another thing to consider is whenever people are putting their opinions out there, a lot of them are not real opinions. A lot of them are bots. A lot of them are just people fucking with people. Like, I'm known to do it myself. Like, if I think it's funny. I mean, we get bored and we do stupid shit. And then other people are wasting their energy arguing with you when it really does mean nothing to you, the person that they're arguing with. And I just don't think that is the best use of time, I guess. And I'm guilty. That's what's funny, is I'm guilty, on top of the fact that we have to hear all this horrible news, the deaths in the hill country, all over the country. It's flooding freaking everywhere. Just crazy stories everywhere. And, I just ask that you really just try to protect yourself and either spend less time online or change your algorithm. Change it to something more positive. Like, freaking look at fucking cats. You know what I mean? Like, look up cat videos, kitten videos. That's going to cheer you up. Puppies, gonna cheer you up. Babies, awesome. Vacations, cooking. You can change your algorithm by choosing to interact with those videos more, or talking about it around your phone, or looking it up. Like, if you're on TikTok, you can literally look up cooking video for spaghetti. And the next thing you know, you have 5,000 Italian food videos, and that will keep you occupied over death and doom and gloom and all that kind of crazy shit. Your algorithm is based on what you are looking at. So what are you looking at that's making it all negative? Maybe it's time to purposely change your algorithm. Do what you need to do to protect your mental health. And also protect your time. We only get so much time on earth. Protect it, because you only get so much. And why spend it on, Joe Bob from Wisconsin that you're never going to meet, that really thinks that cheese curds are better than cheese sticks? Because, that's not true. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Oh, they're both good. But you know what I'm saying. You get the idea of it. So that kind of wraps up. This episode, I was like, what am I going to talk about? I didn't really want to talk about anything too crazy deep. And I also didn't want to just catch up. What I really want to talk about is front porch shit and Southern goodbyes. And I want to talk about, life and like funny little things that you think of when you think about stuff. And, everyday conversations or, whatever the case was. And that was literally the very first thing that came to mind for me was, because all that's going on. Another thing that came to my mind was how to admit you're wrong. Because I think it's a struggle for everybody, kids, adults, all ages. I think it's really hard to admit you're wrong. And I don't mean just admitting you're wrong like on a public forum. I don't really mean that. I don't really think that's necessary typically. But I mean to yourself and to your loved ones. And I think it's a really difficult thing to do, if you're not raised around other people that do it, especially, or if you, and when you were a child, you got punished severely, even when you admitted you were wrong. Like, everyone's raised differently. And some people, it becomes a thing where you get in trouble for doing it. So then they're afraid to do it when they grow up. And I just think it's a really good personality trait to be able to admit that you've made a mistake or you've been wrong about something. And I'm not always great at it. I don't know that anyone's always great at it. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at it. And I see these ums lately. When you hear me say a lot, I'm trying to catch myself. If you hear me saying a lot, it's because I'm literally thinking about this and making it up top of my head at the moment, and I'm truly thinking about it. I noticed on the last episode when I listened to it that I ummed a lot at the very beginning, and that's because I was talking about the flooding and it's devastating and it really had me deep thinking. And apparently when I deep think, I So I apologize, but I can't stop it. I could delete it, but what's the point? Anyways, going back to the original conversation, y'all remember the very first episodes? I was like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I have moved to son of a bitch. I think I know what you mean better. So back to the subject of admitting that you're wrong. Something that I have learned about myself was that and I've talked about this on the podcast before, both podcasts probably, that when I was younger, I had a real hard time admitting I was wrong. And it wasn't because I was wrong all the time, because I really was a pretty good kid. It's because I just thought my mom had enough on her plate, and I just wanted to be the good kid, and I didn't want to make her think that this kid was struggling because she had enough on her plate. And then it slowly became where I didn't want to admit I was wrong because, well, I'm perfect. I'm not wrong. I do things right. I was a people pleaser. It's really hard for a people pleaser to say they're wrong, because it means that they didn't please people and you tried your best. And so I spent years being a people pleaser and, never admitting that I was mistaken. And when I got married to my ex-husband, I'm telling y'all, and I hate to say this, I hate this about me. But when I walked down the aisle with my children's father, I knew we were not going to stay married. And that is horrible. That is horrible. I knew I was wrong. I still walked down the aisle because I didn't want to admit to my mom I was wrong. I didn't want to admit she was right. So I walked down the aisle. I'm not kidding. That's a big fucking mistake. I mean, I wouldn't change it now because I love my children and I wouldn't change that. But, I wasted his and my life. I should have owned it then. That was a big fucking mistake. And it was wrong on my side, And so that was when I got divorced and it was time to admit I made a mistake. And I'm telling you, I stayed married to him for 15 years because I could not admit I was wrong to anybody. Forever, 20 years of my life, I could not admit I was wrong. And I knew the whole time I was. And that's a mind fuck, y'all. It's a mind fuck to look back on your past and be like, I was so fucking stupid. My mom was so right. My dad was so right. I was stupid. Everyone around me was right. And I'm not talking bad about him. At the time, there was nothing he had done wrong. It just wasn't the right mix, and it wasn't the right time, and it wasn't right. And I could not admit that because I had to prove them wrong. And the only person I fucked over was me. Well, two of us, me and him. And that's not fair. And it was a hard lesson to learn. So when I got divorced, I had to say, hey, I was wrong. And this is how I was wrong, and I'm going to fix it. And fixing it creates a situation where I have to hurt my kids and divorce their dad. And I have to hurt him because he didn't want a divorce. And I have to, hurt his family because I divorced him. And, hurt a lot of people when I got divorced. And yeah, it saved me, but it hurt other people. And had I been able to just admit I was wrong, I could have avoided a lot of that. But I just couldn't do it. But I eventually had to do it, and I did it. And it was the most freeing, liberating thing I had ever done. And I learned so much about myself, and I grew, and I got to be myself again, and I got to evolve, and I was stifled before because I was stifled. I stifled myself because I could not admit I was wrong. And it changed my whole life. My whole life was different than what I think it probably would have been because of that one personality flaw. And sometimes it's small things, like it's like, a political belief you're wrong, or a religious belief and you're wrong, or something at work and you were wrong about something. And then, you realize after the fact you were wrong, and maybe owning it and being like, I learned from this and I'm going to do better next time, or I'm going to change how I do this, or I'm going to really think this through next time. Sometimes just being honest with yourself, even if you don't verbally go tell the world, hey, man, I fucked up. You just have to learn from your own mistakes and be like, man, I overreacted and I got to get that in check. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said it that. Or, whatever the case is, you have to own it, even if it's just to yourself. And then you have to forgive yourself. And I think it was hard for me to forgive myself for a while because I felt so guilty that I had done that I had, moved my kid's life around, and then I put them through that divorce is hard. And let me tell you, my divorce was messy. And I mean, I'm not going to say to no fault of my own, because there were some extenuating circumstances I had zero control over. And, there's no playbook for divorce. So you're like, do I get walked on to save peace for everybody? Am I teaching my kids to allow people to walk on them, though, if I do that? Do I stand up for myself so that they don't think that other people can, do that to them? Like, there's a lot. As a parent, you don't know. And I had to forgive myself because I didn't know. I did the best I could do with what I knew. I have regrets now on some of it. There are things I would change now. There's things I know I could not change. Their dad has major regrets. All the messiness he owns. He totally owns that. And he has major regrets. And it has affected things in his life that unfortunately are long term. And, he's trying to fix it now and owning it with the kids like I'm owning it with myself. And I just think it's really important that you do that. And again, it can be over something small. It's not necessarily about a life-changing event like divorce or marriage or whatever the case is. But I think we oftentimes, all we want to do is be right. And sometimes being wrong is the right answer. And I think if you're doing yourself or someone else a disservice just to be right, then you're extra wrong. It's just extra wrong now. It's not kind of wrong. It's extra wrong. And I think that we really have to look at ourselves and understand that we can forgive ourselves when we're wrong, but we also have to admit it when it happens. And it's hard shit, man. It's hard to do that. And see, I said I wasn't going to make this podcast serious, but it is a little serious, man. It's serious. And I think it's good that we have these kind of conversations, even though it's only me talking. I am going to have guests, though, more going forward. I enjoy having a guest. But not every single episode, because I also like to be able to just ramble about whatever's going on and how I'm feeling that day and what I'm thinking about. And something that I've been thinking about lately is, I've kind of made my circle smaller lately, and, not because I don't love people, but because I do love people, and I want to give them, all of me that I can 100%. And that includes my family. And if I'm so wiped out from giving everybody else like 5% and 4% and 10% of me, then what is left for my family I have to consider. And so I've tried to kind of refocus that. And the easiest way to do that is when someone gives me a red flag that I pay attention to it. And I've been doing that. And it's amazing the red flags you see when you start looking for them. And, but also, my friends are cool and understanding about it. Like they don't, they're not red flags. But they recognize that, this is the season for me doing that. And I'm spending more time with everybody, and they're awesome with it. My son, I said I wasn't going to do a catching up, but this is kind of a funny story. My son Zoel, my 18-year-old, he graduated in May, and he has been looking for a job since then. He does not want to go to college, but he is going to go to a technical school because he did shop all through high school. But I told him he had to take off a year, get a job, and we're going to save up, and he's going to help pay for his technical school and get a car, and I'll help him. So this is the year for that. So it's like, I just want you to get out and get a job and get a little work experience. Now, remind y'all, he is autistic and he has severe ADHD. His autism is extremely high functioning, and it's not really a problem at all. Where it's great. He's awesome, autistic, however he is. His ADHD is a fucking bitch. It is. He definitely struggles with it. I chose not to medicate any kids with any kind of like controlled substance because I feel like that's a decision they should make as an adult. And so it is hard. It's really hard. And when he was diagnosed, the doctor told me it was the worst case of ADHD he had ever seen. And so he has been looking for a job, and he's struggled finding it, as most 18-year-old right now that don't have experience. That is hard. And so he's been looking and looking, and he hadn't found anything. And so we have been teasing him he's going to end up on the roof with Rick. Well, finally he's like, I'll get on the roof with Rick. I don't care. I want a job. So Rick's like, all right, you're coming. So he started this week. He's worked 2 days. Y'all, this boy, he came home the first day. It's just so hot. It is. It's like 96 degrees. It's actually a cool summer for us in Texas, but it's hot if you're not used to working outside. And he was overwhelmed. And that boy came home and he slept and he slept. And he got up, ate 2 tacos, and went right back to bed and slept through the night. He is now very, very tan in 1 day. And so today was day 2. And, they're getting up at 4 a.m. and he gets up and off he goes to work. And he told me last night, I don't want to go back. I want a desk job. I am not built for this. I do not want to do this. And I was like, well, you got to go back tomorrow, son. Okay. Because, you don't have anything else to do. So you got to go back tomorrow. So he goes back today. And I'm like, put some more sunblock on because you are looking like you're legit Rick's child right now. And Rick is half Mexican. This boy is tan. And so he tans naturally, but it was a little too much. So I was like, let's put sunblock on you and wear a hat. And, he has long hair. I was like, put your hair in a man bun or a ponytail so that, you can wear a hat. So, because he got so hot yesterday. So he goes back today. He gets home. He texts me, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm going to Dad's house because he was supposed to go to his dad's Saturday anyways because they're going out of town for a week. I'm just going to Dad's house tonight. I'm so tired. I can't do this. The boy quit. I don't know if he quit, but day 2 was too much for him. I mean, granted, I don't know if you know anything about construction. You can't just go into it gung-ho on like the hottest month of the year because your body has to acclimate to this kind of weather. But you also can't just quit. So we're going to see how this works out, and he's going to be back, if he's going to be back after the vacation. I don't know. I bless his heart. And my other little catching up was I ordered myself some samples for my shop. And if you want to order anything, it's zeta.owens_@printify.com, I believe. Or you can look on my social media, which is Zeta Owens on Facebook, Zmamacita on Instagram, or Bless Your Heart, I'm Talking on Instagram. And I swear to y'all, I'm going to do it, but I just haven't had a chance. I've tried to change the name on Facebook. It will not let me. So I'm just going to have to create a new page. It just keeps fighting me. So that's fine. We'll just create a new page. Anyway, so that's coming soon. Regardless, I'm like, what was I talking about before? Welcome to menopause when you cannot remember what you were just talking about. I'm like, okay, y'all. I'm not editing this out. I want y'all to hear this. Was I not just talking about something that you could see on social media? What was the thing I was talking about? Motherfucker. Bless my heart. Y'all, this is where we are. I'm not gonna fix this. I just think it's really funny now, and I'm just gonna leave it in here and let y'all see how ridiculous it is that, Printify. Look, I remember now. Motherfucking menopause. Blame you. Okay. So, y'all know I did the merch that's so funny. Y'all know I did the merch for the, after the bad review. And so I made this bag and it's on there and it's a canvas bag. And if you've looked at the merch, you're going to laugh if you look closer. Like you need to click on things, particularly the bags. There's two bags. There's a small canvas tote and then there's a bigger canvas tote. Okay. And I'm sorry if it's a little expensive, the bigger one. Unfortunately, the prices are kind of set for me. So it is, I don't make a lot of money on it, but it's a little pricey, but I got the sample for it. It's my absolute favorite thing I got, and it's probably just specific to me. But it's a canvas bag, and on one side of it, it says, it's all quotes from the reviews. Okay. So on one side of it, it says extra baggage because she said that he or she, they, them said I was extra baggage to Al and Amy. So I put that on one side. And then on the other side, that's why you need to look at both bags, click on it because each side is different. And then on the other side of it, it says like, loud, older sounding, something woman, like one of the quotes. And then on the bottom of the bag, it says rock bottom. And I don't know why I'm so tickled by that. And that actually wasn't on the review. I just thought she thinks I'm rock bottom. And I put it there because it was really funny. Anyways, I've been carrying it in public all over Waxahachie because I just want everyone to see it. And I wore it. I'm just hoping it was a local that wrote it about me so they can see it. So I wore it when I recorded on Tuesday and I went and met Alan to record. And so I had it on and I walked in and Al looked at it and he laughed and he was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "This is all the things the reviewer said about me." And he goes, "Let me see." So I showed him and he was like, "Extra baggage? What does that mean?" And I was like, "They said I was extra baggage for you." And he was like, "Oh, that's funny." And I said, "Yeah." And I was like, so I showed him the other part and he laughed. He thought it was hilarious. And then I don't know why he didn't read it because I saw he commented on their reviews, but he didn't read it, I guess, or didn't pay enough attention to it. And so I brought up the sandwich because our guest this week, because I guess Amy couldn't be there this week. I don't know why. And I haven't talked to her, but Amy couldn't be there. So the last minute, I guess I'll ask Amber, which is a lady that works at Velvet Angel, who I love and I frequent often. So I know her pretty well. And so Amber, I was telling her all the stories and I told her about the sandwich and she was cracking up. And so then she tells Al about the sandwich where it's like, get a grip. And we talked about it on the podcast. And then afterwards he was like, was that really in the review? I was like, yes. He was like, that's so funny. That's so funny. I was like, I know. He was like, now I don't know what to do. Do I keep the joke going we have where I don't name it after you just because you want to? Or do I do it to be spiteful? I was like, you know what? I'll just follow your heart. I was like, just follow your heart. But if any of your listeners ever go to Al's, okay, if you like buffalo chicken sandwiches, I want you to order the Zeta because most of those bartenders will know exactly what you're talking about. The waitresses, I don't know, but the bartenders will. Order the Zeta sandwich, okay? It's a buffalo chicken sandwich with ranch on it, and it's delicious. And they know what it is because I order it, most of them. And it would be really funny if everyone just started calling it the Zeta. There are already regulars that call it the Zeta and order it. And I'm just saying, they got everything to make it. Just put it on the menu. Get a grip, Zeta. Get a grip. I'm just kidding. Y'all hear me talking to myself in third person. I went to that stage in junior high and it was really annoying for some people. So I might not do it. And particularly Erica. I can remember Erica telling me to stop talking in third person. And now she's like my best friend. Oh, Lord. So we just talked about a lot of nothing. This really was a good Southern goodbye because there was really no content to that, I don't think. And that's really the goal is just talk about absolutely nothing and everything. And I have a pretty good episode coming up and I may have a few. I'm going to try and make more than one out of them, but I'm going to be honest with y'all. I keep taking my podcast equipment to San Saba and then not recording because I get busy or, we're all talking. There's so many of us you can't hear enough to record, I guess. But I'm going to try really hard this week to get Bonnie, particularly my sister-in-law, because she's just hilarious and a great storyteller. I'm going to try and get her recorded. And my son Zane is my only kid that's not been on the podcast, and he is probably the funniest one. Him and Zoe are both funny, but I think he's funnier. He's pretty funny. And so I'm going to have him and his girlfriend, Maddie, whom I love, on it. And then I might record with their friends as well. So we're going to see. We're not going to put them all on one episode, though, but I'm hoping to get it recorded because they're all pretty entertaining people. So I got a lot going on this weekend. It's a best friend weekend for my son. So he's 25 and he's bringing all his best friends, his like long time since childhood best friends, to the cabin to celebrate one of their birthdays. And they wanted me to go to be like mom. So, cause I'm close to them all. So that's cool. It's gonna be me and all his best friends and their significant others. And one of his friends is Rain, and Rain is flying in from Tennessee, or he flew in today actually. And he's coming, and this is Zane's bestie that he met online playing video games when they were like 12, and they're now 25, and that is Zane's best friend. They talk like every day, and Zane met him for the first time in person a little less than a year ago when he flew to Tennessee, or no, he drove to Tennessee for the wedding, and he was in the wedding when Rain got married. So I just thought that was really cool that they truly are like best friends, and that's how they met. So I really kind of wanted to get them together to talk about it because it's a cool little story. So this episode's not going to be quite as long. Last week, though, I did an hour and 15 minutes, so I just felt like this one didn't have to be quite as long. But I got some good ones coming up. Thank you again for joining me. Also, thanks for all the interaction on social media. It's really funny. If I post about menopause, y'all got some shit to say. Y'all want to talk about it. Southern foods, also hot topic. Pear salad. Come on, y'all. Let's hear it for the pear salad. I couldn't believe how many of y'all had eaten. I'd shown my coworker and he was like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, I loved it. Mayonnaise, cheese, pears, maraschino cherry on a piece of lettuce. What could go wrong? You serve it next to your casserole. It's just a delish. Anyways, that's all we got for you this week. And join me again next week. Please like, follow, share. I really appreciate it when you tell your friends about me, and then your friends message me telling me that you told me about them and that they love it. That's awesome. Check out all the social media. Check out my Printify, Zeta_Owens at Printify.com. And I will talk to y'all later.